Holy shnikes, Beltalota. And Star Fam. And General Star Citizenry. It's almost fucking here. Almost. I'm only a lot a bit excited. We've only been waiting for weeks. Months. Too fucking long. Let's not split space hairs. Even if they are really high resolution space hairs. Stick around. My friends, this is exciting times. We are on full high alert for 315. We're going to address an elephant or two. We're going to address 50 gray shades. And we're going to talk a little bit about the update. So let's talk about the first elephant. It's not as, as gargantuan as the one we're going to talk about a little bit later. Just slightly smaller, compact, more awesome version of an elephant. This is a really, really shitty analogy. Everybody, welcome Agathon to the Callisto Commission. My friend, you have been a staunch supporter of the organization since you got your toes in the door. Long time coming. Thank you very much. I know when you originally started out here, you were looking for something a little more laid back. I'm sorry / thank you. We are elated to have you, and you have been a huge boon. On behalf of myself, the Callisto Commission, and all your fellow Belters, welcome. We hope you fucking stick around, pal. Let's talk a little bit about some other elephants. So there have been some quiet discussions about the network. If you're familiar with what the network is. This might be a bit redundant for you. Now, we've been in chats with another Star Citizen who has been in active development of a pretty cool passion project here that is looking to loop like-minded groups together for a greater sense of a greater resource pool and sort of like-minded individuals that we can maybe bring into our missions from time to time. Also got a wealth of really interesting resources available there. So I'm going to start slowly onboarding with the assistance of the Callisto Commission here. Slowly start onboarding some people to get involved with representing Ghost Knife as affiliates, as delegates, to the Gray Shade Network. Now, the Gray Shade Network is, like I've mentioned here, it's a collection of like-minded organizations intended to bolster our strengths, bolster our resources, and really give us a greater presence and a greater pool of resources to pull from in the verse. Now, it sounds like a lot of loaded stuff. It's not really so complicated. Essentially, it is a gilded server with a lot of really cool resources for the individual player or for an organization to go out and get more out of the game, get more out of each other. It's something that I think we're really going to benefit from as a whole, but we're also going to benefit from on the individual user. There will be a lot more details coming, but basically this message here is to serve as a bit of an introduction to the Gray Shade Network, and it's also to let you know that we're doing this to give you guys more individual resources. Now, you are always going to be welcome here in the Ghost Knife of Callisto. The Gray Shade is not anything that is intended to slough you out the door or put you up to be poached by other organizations. That is not the intention of our affiliation with this service. We are here to meet other people like us, right? To potentially do some co-opting missions together and be friendly with other organizations and other organized entities in Star Citizen. It's us versus the world. Sounds great on paper, but in practice, it gets pretty messy pretty quick. So that's just a basic touchstone to familiarize you a little bit with the Gray Shade Network. Greater details and invitations to that gilded server will be coming in the days to come. We're still trying to sort out and solidify our position within the Gray Shade Network, but think of it as an ancillary resource for you as the individual to go and to group up with some people if you want to run some private stuff or some stuff that maybe needs a couple extra players for. For instance, we could be running a mission, and for short a couple of hands, we can put a quick blast out in the Gray Shade Network to get 5 or 10 extra people. We're looking to do some content, and vice versa, right? It's a great little resource for us, and one that I think is going to serve us quite well. And like I say, to be affiliated with other like-minded organizations is a good thing. It's been likened to essentially the OPA. If you're familiar with our lore, the Outer Planets Alliance is a collection of all disparate factions of Belters. Now, we as Ghost Knife, in all this sort of sense here, are meant to represent one sort of brand of Belterness, right? A certain point in belter history that we latched onto, that we identify with, and that we want to propagate within the verse. That's our role, right? As is cohesive with our lore, but also in sort of the mission statement for our organization. So I don't want you to feel like this is going to take away from what we're doing. It's not. It's going to enhance it. So let's talk about the other true gargantuan elephant. Let's talk about 315 for a minute here. Holy shit! So, not going to bore you with the details, because if you aren't looped in by now, you have not sated your cavernous well of curiosity at this point, perhaps you're leaving some certain things to surprise for yourself, and I can respect that. So we're not going to get into the details too much, but we are going to talk about the possible release window. Now, looking back over the last 3 or 4 patches, there really isn't a static time of the week when a new patch gets pushed to the PU. There is usually a couple of weeks between the PTU and the PU release to further flash out bugs to make it more stable for the wider audience. But there isn't it's not like every Friday, right? It's been a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday from 3.12, 13, and 14, not necessarily in that order. So there really isn't a cohesive time. But I want to talk to you a little bit quickly here about some Star Citizen content creators on YouTube and some of the general messaging that I'm seeing in a lot of different forums here that tell me and tell many of us that are in agreement that 315 is right on our doorstep. It is right around the corner, and it's super fucking exciting. And no, I'm not sorry for swearing. Okay, so typically the PTU, the patch before it comes to the PU, in the PTU, it has to hit a certain level of polish where they are confident when they push it out to the wider audience it's going to be a stable build, because nothing sucks more than getting your hands on something you're super anticipated, you've been super hyped for and anticipating for a very long time, and it sucks. It's a broken, janky mess, and your playtime is like 15-20 minutes a pop. Like, nobody wants that. CIG doesn't want that, and historically they have done their best to avoid that. Now, without anybody explicitly coming out and saying yes, it's this week, a lot of the Star Citizen messaging from CIG has been hinting at a very close release window as of about a week and a half ago. Any further, that's not really very close, is it? So yeah, maybe that's a bit of a hope and a prayer. Call it what it is. Most of the SC content creators on YouTube are reporting some seriously high frame rates, like major frame gains. Like, we're talking 119 FPS in landing zones, in harbors. This speaks to the stability of the build and how fucking awesome 315 is. Now, let's touch on these content creators for a minute. Pretty much unanimously with all the major heavy hitters, this is the best update to date. And that's what we want to hear as Star Citizen fans, as backers of the project, that this is getting better and better. There's probably going to be moments along the road where, as with all games in development, they make some minor changes that have big consequences. That is to be expected. I wouldn't let that kind of ruin your cereal, so to speak. Shit in your cornflakes. It's part of the process of game development. But to see 315 get the reception that it is in the PTU and with Evo Kadi, this build is very much ready to go. Now, the PTU differs from the PU in a number of ways, mainly with your connectivity to other players and how many other players you have a chance to play with. So those massive FPS gains historically don't translate identically to the PU, because there are more players, there's a lot more going on, right? It's a higher draw on your systems, server, but high frame rate gains in the PTU will translate to more FPS for you and for people with lower end rigs as well. Now, most people in the PTU, they have those big rigs because they're in the PTU, and it just kind of makes sense. You're subscribing to a game you've already paid for, you probably got some additional expendable income, and you're really into Star Citizen, right? So you're gonna fork out the dough for that better experience. Now, those people typically are in the 3060 and above range, 3070s, 3080s, high end cards, high end rigs. But for them to be seeing that stability and that amount of frames per second right now is indicative that everyone is going to have an improved experience, not just in stability but in frame rates with 315 in the PU, the wider audience. It's coming. It's fucking here. I am going to ask all of the belters here, you do one thing for me. if by some fucking strange one-off, nobody in the chat is talking about how 315 has dropped, and you just might have noticed that there's an update available in your launcher, please don't wait. Tell us right away. And we're going to start talking about, we're start implementing some of these grander AUEC aggregation methods so we can get everybody up and running with as much credits in their pocket as possible. Let us know somewhere in the Belters chat if you're down for trying your hand at some large-scale group mining. We're going to be doing that. That's going to be the quickest and fastest way for everybody to get as much cash in their pockets as possible to get you, the agency, to upgrade your ships as fast as possible. Maybe even buy and rent a prospector. The more we have cash flowing freely between our citizens, between our Belters, the better off we're going to be. The more quickly we're going to be able to get to some of this content, the more we're going to be able to enjoy the build, 315 minutes, and the more we're going to be able to experiment and have fun and better watch each other's backs and asses. I don't know why I differentiated between the two. Maybe you don't like backs. Maybe you like butts. I'm not going to kink shame you. Maybe you like backs over butts. That would be weird. This is probably a great spot to end the video. Anon out. See you in the verse. Butts over backs. That's the takeaway here. Have a great day. And in keeping with a new tradition, this is our time. You know, it's a special time. It's time for me to say thank you and mean it. Thank you very much to all the members of Ghost Knife of Callisto, whatever capacity you've been here and along for the ride. You make what we're doing here worth it. You make what we're doing here possible. And I hope you're having a great one. And if you ever have anything to say about the org or whatever it may be, please come to myself, Anon, or any one of our Callisto commissioners. We're here to make your experience in this organization as seamless and as fun as possible. And if there's ways that we can improve, we would love to hear them. Thank you, Beltalona. Have a great day, and don't forget, the more you share, the more you bowl.